Grave, Grave. What wicked king, the son of a godly king, was buried in the garden of Uzzah? So he was wicked, but his dad was good. And his name starts with an M. M, yes. I'll tell you his dad's name. His dad's name was Hezekiah, in case that helps. It ends with a Manasseh. Manasseh, that's right. Good job. Where were Joseph's bones finally buried? No. No, no, because no, Jacob was buried there, but not Joseph. It starts with a S. Ends with a Shechem. Shechem is right. Good job. Shechem it was. Isn't that where Dinah was violated, or was that a different place? Yeah. So apparently there. That's where they buried him. Yeah. Some of these are very obscure. What king was buried by his servants in the sepulchre with his forefathers in Jerusalem? This one starts with an A. It ends with a Haziah. Haziah, yeah, Haziah. That's good. All right. It's hard to catch these ones. Yeah, we'll do 2 pages. Maybe it'll get easier. What leper king was buried in a special field? Starts with a U. Not Uriah. Uzziah is right. Uzziah, yeah, good job. Whoa, hello. What happened there? That was strange. That was still boomy. And he didn't even do anything. This is Jay's fault. Jay's controlling this. I thought he only controlled his feed. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, I have to keep going, otherwise he won't have any signal to fix on. What did the chief priest buy with the silver Judas returned to him? You guys know this one. Yeah, the potter's field. It says a field to bury strangers in. Which would be a potter's field? They usually, because you couldn't grow anything in a potter's field, because the potters always threw their clay out, and so the field was really clayey, so it was not very good for growing things. So they bought it to bury people in, because people don't care if there's clay in the soil. Yeah. Let's see. What did Jesus say to the man who wanted time to bury his father?
Let the dead bury the dead.
Yes, let the dead bury the dead. Very good. Who begged the Canaanites for a place to bury his dead? Abraham is right. Good job, Pamela. 400 things of silver, I think. Yeah. It was not a good price for the buyer, but it was a good price for the seller. But Abraham was like, I'll pay full price. It's fine. Yeah, and he had it anyway. Who begged his son to be buried somewhere else besides Egypt? No. Jacob. Jacob is right. It is Jacob. Yes. All right. What book says their blood have they shed like water around Jerusalem, and there is none to bury them? So you're guessing the book of the Bible. Your first guess might be the right one. My first guess was. No. Second guess might be the right one. Not Isaiah, not Proverbs. Your fourth guess might be the best one. No, Hezekiah doesn't have his own book. No, nope, not one of the minor prophets. It is Psalms. Yeah, fifth guess, that's the one that did it. It was so poetic. I thought that it's Psalm 79:3. Let's see. Where am I? I forgot what number I'm on. The kids are so good at this. Who said the grave is my house? Yeah, it's kind of depressing, isn't it? No, someone who's depressed, not angry. Job's right. Yeah. 25. What book? So it's a book of the Bible. What book says that in the grave there is no work, no knowledge, no wisdom? No, not Psalms. What's that? Ecclesiastes is right. Yeah, you can tell because that one also sounds depressed. Who said the grave cannot praise thee, death cannot celebrate thee? So we're looking for a person this time. No. That's a good guess, though. This guy was a king. He was a king during Isaiah's rule. Because the quote is from Isaiah. Who was king during Isaiah's rule? Isaiah came to him and told him, you're going to die, and he turned towards the wall, and after 15 more years, Hezekiah is right. You guys got this. You guys are so smart. What apostle said, "O grave, where is thy victory?" No, not John. It wasn't one of the 12. It is Paul from 1 Corinthians. What prophet, speaking in the words of the Lord, said, "I will ransom them from the power of the grave"? So name of a prophet now. It's one of the minor prophets. That's the hint. What's the first minor prophet? Nope, not Joel. Before Joel's book. Hosea is right. I don't know who said Hosea, but good job. Was it Nicole? Yeah, it was Nicole. She's falling asleep, so it's hard to hear her. Did you guys know that when I started teaching a college group, Nicole came and recorded my teaching so that she could put her kids to sleep? That's yeah, the trivia of Jonathan. I don't think that'd be a bestseller. But yeah, she would record my teaching so that she would take it back to the kids she babysat and play it for them so they would fall asleep. I hope so. But I was a celebrity in that house because I didn't even know them at the time. And when I finally met them, they're like, "You're Jonathan." It was weird feeling like a celebrity, but only for that one house. What prophet, speaking in the words of the Lord, said, "I will ransom them from the power of the grave"? I did just say that. It's the same one. It's Hosea. All right, what figure is portrayed in these words by Isaiah? He made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. Talking about Jesus. It specifically says here the suffering servant. But yes, it's talking about Jesus. I will take Jesus as the answer for that one. To whom did the Israelites say, "Because there was no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness"? Who did they tell that to? To Moses. Yeah, they said to Moses. What gospel records the graves opening after Jesus' death on the cross? No. No, it's one of the Gospels. Nope, not John. Matthew's right. It's only recorded in Matthew where the saints came out of their graves. Who said the hour is coming in which who said the hour is coming in which all that are in their graves shall hear his voice? It was said in John, but Jesus said it. I just read that one. What people did Jesus refer to as graves which appear not? What people did Jesus refer to as graves which appear not? And I don't remember that at all. It is the Pharisees and the scribes. I wonder if it's just translated different in New King James versus the Old King James. That was from Luke 11:44. Graves which appear not. So I wonder if it's just translated differently. According to Psalm 5, what is like an open sepulcher? Not the people specifically, but something on the people. The Pharisees, no, not the hearts, higher than the hearts. The mouths. The mouths are like an open sepulcher, open grave, yes. Yes, Casey.
And he who had died came out bound hand and foot with grave cloths, and his face was wrapped. And he said, Luke in the land, what? He said Luke 11:44, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's Lazarus. No, yeah. Is it Lazarus and Luke?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he who had died,
You're not in John?
he said Luke.
Yeah, I said Luke. I'm just saying it sounds like John, but okay.
No, it's Luke.
Okay.
Oh, you're right, I am in. Sorry.
That's okay.
I get it, really.
That's all right. No problem. I was just like, that sounds a lot like John.
44.
Luke 11:44.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like graves which are not seen, and the men who walk over them are not aware of them.
Okay, graves that are not seen. That's what we're used to. And here it says graves which appear not. So same meaning, just the wording is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, that's why we couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to Jesus, the Pharisees built tombs for whom?
For the Pharaoh.
No, not the pharaohs.
For themselves. Wait.
Not for themselves. Yeah, they built tombs. These elaborate tombs for. He was insulting this because basically you killed these guys, but then you build them these elaborate tombs to honor them, honor prophets. Yeah, you guys got that one. Who gave his rock-cut tomb as a burial place for Jesus? That's right, Joseph of Arimathea. Who infuriated Isaiah by building an elaborate tomb for himself? I would not have guessed this one. I don't remember this guy. His name starts with an S and ends with a Hebna. Yeah, Shebna. Shebna. Okay, what man who hanged himself was buried in his family tomb? Yes. He was was David's advisor, but then he defected to Absalom. So what's that guy's name? Not Azareth. It starts with an A though. Yeah, it's a long name. He was Bathsheba's grandfather. Right hand man, his chief advisor. I think he's left hand man at that point. No, but he worked for Absalom. He gave Absalom advice, and then Absalom didn't take it, and he hung himself. Yeah, because he's like, well, we're doomed if he's not taking my advice. Which is kind of pompous of him, I think. Huh? No. It ends with Ahithophel. Ahithophel. Yeah, it was just on the tip of your lips, right? Just you were about to say it. Yeah. Whose burial at Hebron caused the grief of David? No, because it was at no, it wasn't Absalom because it was at Hebron before Absalom's rebellion. Not Jonathan. No, it wasn't someone who was related to him. Well, I mean, I guess they're all Jews, they're all related, but no, it was not a priest. It was not a king. It was a general. Yes. No, it was Ishabeth's general. Was that? Yes, Abner, the son of Ner. That was my next hint. If you guys didn't figure it out that he was Ishabeth's general, I would have said he's the son of Ner. And that would have given it away. Yeah. Yeah. Ab is dad and Ner is my dad. Yeah. It's Ner is my dad, son of Ner. Yeah, because Ab is short for Abba, for father. Strange. I call my son Ab Jonathan. It's just weird. According to the law, when was a hangman's body supposed to be buried? That day, that very day. That's right, before the sun went down. What wicked queen did Jehu send his men to bury, though she had already been devoured by dogs? You just got that from Wicked Queen. You know anything else after Wicked Queen? Yeah, the dogs definitely gave it away, but you already had it from Wicked Queen. Who erected a memorial pillar for himself during his own lifetime?
It was Nebuchadnezzar.
No, not Nebuchadnezzar. No, that statue's not the same as memorial pillar. Yeah. Yeah. I can see the confusion, but it's not Nebuchadnezzar. No, it's not. He's not in the Bible. Bible trivia. No, but he had a very short reign. He had a very short reign, and it wasn't really a legitimate reign, but he wanted to make himself legitimate. No, he was David's son. Yeah, it is Absalom. It is Absalom. Yeah, just long enough to be killed. Yeah, but before he was killed, he erected a pillar to himself so that he would be remembered, because he cared about himself. Yeah. Yeah, remember he would have his hair cut every year, and it'd be 5 pounds of hair they cut off every single year off his head. That's a lot of hair. Riding through the forest. He wasn't paying attention to the trees. He was probably on his phone, is what happened. He was he was on his phone, didn't see the low branch, and they caught his hair. It did, because he specifically said, don't do that. Yeah. He did, but he didn't need to do it that way. But it's what happened. And he did deserve it. What king had his body cast at the city gate with stones heaped on it? This, I wouldn't have guessed this either. He doesn't have a name. He's not even the king of Israel. It's the king of Ai from Judges. Yeah. If you were thinking that, then you know the Bible way more than I do. Because I don't remember that one at all. What two liars were buried by the early Christians? Oh, that's an easy one. Yeah, Ananias and Sapphira. That's right. You ever wonder what they were doing? You know, Ananias comes in and says, "Oh, we sold this and give it to you," and then he dies, and then 3 hours later, Sapphira comes in. What was she doing for those 3 hours? That's my guess. Is she was shopping for fabric at Joann's, and it just took her that long to pick out some curtains. I'm just saying that I go fabric shopping with my wife, and it's a long, long time. Oh, she was? Yeah, maybe. You're having it long. What woman? No, that's not the right one. According to Jeremiah, what king was destined to have the burial of a donkey? Starts with a J. Ends with a Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim, very good. Yeah, you got it. They do have a lot of Jade kings. It's because the J king names they all come from the Yahweh word, you know, and so like of course you want to work God's name into your son's name if you think he's going to be, you know, remotely following the Lord. Yeah. Yeah, they always name him Jesus because they wanted to be like Jesus. Yeah, but because in our language, that same name is Joshua. You know, we got a lot of Joshuas around here, and Joshua has God's name in it, Yahweh saves. My name, Jonathan, has God's name in it. It's his gift from God, or God's gift. In Nathaniel, it's the same as mine, because the Nathan is still gift, but instead of the J-O at the beginning, which means, you know, Yahweh, they put the L for Elohim at the end. So it's still a gift of God, but just not specifically God's name. It's just the word God. But still, pretty cool. Yeah, so when Nate and I are up here together, we got the same name. And if you look at our last names, we're Dow Jones. Let's see. What woman, according to Jesus, prepared him for burial? The woman with the ointment. Was that Mary? Okay. Yeah. No, not that part. But when he was at the table and she broke the ointment all over his head, and he says, "Prepare me for burial." That's Martha's sister Mary, right? Yeah. Okay. That's that one. At the house of Simeon the leper. It did. Frosted cookies. I haven't heard that one. No, that's a good one though. I like it. That really frosted my cookies. Yeah, it is, because it's cookies. It's very sweet. Yeah, but it did. It really turned him. And the other disciples were following suit. They were also complaining. Yeah. Let's see. According to Revelation, whose bodies would lie in the streets for 3.5 days without burial? The two witnesses. It says two prophets here, but we know them as witnesses. Maybe the old King James called them prophets. What two epistles compare baptism with burial? No, they're epistles, not gospels. But good guess. So just start guessing epistles. There's not that many of them. Not Galatians. Not Corinthians. Not Philippians. The Philippines. Not Philippians. Romans is one. Romans is one, so we get one more. Baptism to burial. Romans and? Nope, not Luke. It is one of Paul's. Starts with a C. Not Corinthians. Colossians is right, yes. Yeah, that's okay though. Who? All right, this one is like, I don't know how they're gonna make you guess this one. Who buried Stephen? And you're like, I don't know who buried Stephen. You know what the answer is? Godly men. It's like, okay, well, great. That's very descriptive. You know, it's like, of course, the people who love the Lord are going to bury that. I thought they were looking for names. So that one doesn't count. I'm taking that one off the board. That was a trick question. Who did God promise would be buried at a ripe old age? Abraham is right. Who buried Abraham? Isaac and, one more. Ishmael. Isaac and Ishmael. They both buried him, yeah. According to Jeremiah, who would not be buried or mourned? No. This one's also one of those, like, okay, you have to read that passage, be familiar. It is the slain of the Lord. So those that God kills, like in the last days with that big battle, the birds are going to come. But according to Jeremiah, they will not be buried and they will not be mourned. They're going to be a feast. Okay, what priest did Jeremiah tell he would be buried in Babylon? Yeah, you guys aren't going to get this one. I don't remember this one at all. Starts with a P, ends with an Ashur. Pashur. Yeah, there you go. Pashur. Like, it sounds like something a surfer would say. Sure. Sure. All right, who buried Isaac? Jacob and? Esau. Jacob and Esau. All right. What prophetess died and was buried at Kadesh? There aren't many prophetess named in the Bible. Nope, not Deborah. She was a judge. I guess she was prophetess technically too. But before Deborah lived. Older than Deborah. No. Phoebe's New Testament. This is Old Testament. Think back to the book of Exodus. Miriam. Yes. Miriam. Yes. What do you do to two people who are in love? Miriam. Let's see. What priest died and was buried at Mosera? Aaron's right. Good one. You just picked that out of the air. What judge of Israel was buried at Shamir? I would not remember. I don't remember this one at all. Starts with a T. I don't even remember a judge that starts with a T, but it ends with an Ola. Tola. What king was buried in Jerusalem after being killed by Pharaoh's armies? Young king. Starts with a J. And you have heard of this one. Not John. Good guess, though. Jerusalem. After being killed by Pharaoh's armies. He was a good king. He was a young king. But he went out to fight against Pharaoh's armies and was killed. Josiah's right. What wicked king who sacrificed his son was refused burial in the king's sepulchres? Starts with an A. No, not Ahab. Very close. Ends with a has. Ahaz is right. Probably. What king of Judah, murdered by his servants, was refused? Did I just read that one? No, no. It ends in the same sentence though. What king of Judah, murdered by his servants, was refused burial in the king's sepulchres? This starts with a J. No, but close. Ends with a Ohash. It's a Jehash. Yes. All right.
He was murdered by his
Servants. Yeah. And they refused. They didn't bury him with his fathers.
why?
Jehash. I don't remember that one. But it is in 2 Chronicles 24:25. Yeah, 2 Chronicles 24:25. Yeah, you don't bury someone until you kill them first. Yeah, I don't remember his story. Okay, 3 left. What judge of Israel was buried in Gilead? So this is one of the judges. It also starts with a J. Ends with a Ephtah. Jephthah? Jephthah. Okay. 2 more. Who moved the bones of Saul and Jonathan to their final burial place? David is right. And the last one of the night. Who was the first king to be buried in Samaria? And I don't know. I don't think I would have known this one if I didn't look at the answer. Starts with an O. Ends with a Mni. Omni, anybody? Omni? All right. Let's get to what really matters. Yes, Casey?
His own servants conspired against him because of the blood of the sons of Jehoiada, the priest, and killed him on his bed till he died. And they buried him in the city of David, but they did not bury him in the city of kings.
So he killed Jehoiada the priest.
He killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And they told him on his bed how big, I remember. He was hurt. He was wounded. For they had left him severely wounded. But he had forsaken the Lord God of their fathers. So they executed judgment against Gilead, and when they had withdrawn from him. So they're talking about the Syrians.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool.
And they hurt him bad.
Lots. Yeah. Yeah. No, don't do that stuff. That's not good.
Well, that's what you get for forsaking the Lord.
That's what you get for forsaking the Lord and killing a bunch of people. All right. So we are in Leviticus chapter 4, talking about the sin offering today. It seems like a longer chapter, but there's a lot of repetition. It actually won't take too long to get through. But it's good stuff. And you guys know this already, but the law applies to you whether you know the law or not. Right? So if you're driving down the road and you drive through a stop sign, well, not through the actual sign, but drive through the intersection, and the policeman pulls you over, and he says, hey, you didn't stop at that stop sign. A good excuse would not be, I didn't know we were supposed to stop at stop signs.
Or nobody was around.
You know, it's just like, but if you say, like, I wasn't aware of that law, I don't think you're going to be driving home. Right? Yeah, ignorance is definitely not an excuse. You know, or if you said, oh, I didn't see the stop sign, I was too busy looking at my phone. Right? Also not a good excuse. Ignorance is not a good excuse. But it happens, though, if you do break a law that you are ignorant of. That is not the same as breaking a law that you know. And so there are different methods. And so what we're talking about in the sin offering is what God prescribed to the ancient Israelites, not to us, because we're not killing animals anymore. But what he prescribed to the ancient Israelites of what they were to do when they sinned unintentionally and they realized that they did wrong. Okay, because if you haven't done wrong, you can't say, oh, I did this wrong, because you don't realize it yet. But if you like, oh man, I messed up and I realized that I did the wrong thing, then you can repent. So verses 1 through 3 say, now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, if a person sins unintentionally against any of the commandments of the Lord in anything which ought not to be done, and does any of them, if the anointed priest sins, bringing guilt on the people, let him offer to the Lord for his sin which he has sinned, a young bull without blemish as a sin offering. we're going to see four groups. We're going to see the priests. We're going to see the rulers of the people. We are going to see the priest. Then we're going to see the entire congregation. If they sin together, then we're going to see the ruler of the people if he sins alone, and then a commoner. And then we're going to see the different sacrifices they're required to bring. The first one is a priest. When he realizes he had sinned, he is to bring a young bull. This is the most expensive of the sacrifices. A young cow, a young male without blemish. Because the priests are supposed to know what the law is. They are supposed to know what they are doing, and they are supposed to live as an example of God to all the people. So when they sin, and they sin, people sin, it just means that their offering is the most expensive one, because they ought to have known the most of what they were doing and what they ought not to do. Verse 4, he shall bring the bull to the door of the tabernacle of meeting before the Lord, and lay his hand on the bull's head and kill the bull before the Lord. So they would march the bull in, past the altar, past the laver, right to the door of the tent of meeting, and they would do the sacrifice, they would do the killing there. Verse 5, then the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood and bring it to the tabernacle of meeting. So not the priest who sinned, but another priest would catch the blood, and they would bring it into the tabernacle. Not often does the blood of the sacrifice come into the tabernacle. For most of the offerings, it stayed outside. But this one, the sin offering, was a major one. The other offerings were voluntary. This one was mandatory. The priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle some of the blood 7 times before the Lord in front of the veil of the sanctuary. Right as close as he can get to God's presence without crossing through that veil, he sprinkles the blood. No one can approach God without the shedding of blood. He is too holy. We are too imperfect. And we are thankful that now when we approach God, we are approaching him through the shedding of Jesus' blood, not our own. Because Jesus shed his blood for us, and it is his sacrifice that allows us to come close. Until Jesus came, this is how they did it. Verse 7, and the priest shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of sweet incense before the Lord, which is in the tabernacle of meeting. He shall pour out the remaining blood of the bull at the base of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. So there's the small altar that's about 4 feet high and 1.5 feet across, square. It's right in front of the veil. And so he's putting some of the blood on the horn. What was that altar for? That altar is small. It's just for the incense. It represents the prayers. And even the prayers come through judgment to get to the Lord. And the rest of it, he goes outside and pours it at the base of the main altar. That symbolizes judgment. Verses 8 through 10, he shall take from it all the fat of the bull as a sin offering, the fat that covers the entrails and all the fat that is on the entrails, the 2 kidneys and the fat that is on them by the flanks, and the fatty lobe attached to the liver above the kidneys he shall remove, as it was taken from the bull of the sacrifice of the peace offering, and the priest shall burn them at the altar of the burnt offering. So all the fat, all the best parts, just like all the other sacrifice, they all get offered to the Lord as a burnt offering. Verses 11 and 12, but the bull's hide and all its flesh, and with its head and legs, its entrails and offal. How does the offal taste? Awful. The whole bull he shall carry outside the camp to a clean place, where the ashes are poured out, and burn it on wood with fire. Where the ashes are poured out, it should be burned. Now, on every other sacrifice, this stuff, the head and its flesh and the legs and that stuff, that all got consumed by the priest. But here, because it is the priest's sin offering, the priest can't eat it. Just like the common person couldn't eat of their own sin offering, the priest can't eat of their own sin offering. But since there is no one above the priest except for God, there is no one else to eat the meat. So they had to take it out to another place outside the camp and burn it there, because it all belonged to the Lord. Verse 13, now if the whole congregation of Israel sins unintentionally, this is the second one. So that's everybody together. And the thing is hidden from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done something against any of the commandments of the Lord, and anything which should be done, and are guilty. So it doesn't matter what you do. If it's anything against anything God has said, you're guilty. And when you're guilty against breaking one of God's commandments, you're guilty of breaking them all, right? Just like if you stand before a judge and you are convicted of killing somebody, And you're like, okay, yes, I killed somebody, but I didn't rob him. I left all of his money there, right? The judge is going to say, you're still a criminal. Get back in jail. You know, even if it's a small thing. I didn't kill anybody, but yeah, I stole the candy bar from the gas station. You're still a criminal. Doesn't matter how many laws you broke. If you broke one, you are a criminal. And so whatever we've done wrong, we need to come to the Lord and say, I'm a criminal. I am a sinner. And I don't deserve your grace. But I'm thankful that you give it anyway. Because God loves us. Where would we be without his right? We have no other alternative other than to stand up against the holy, mighty God, curse him in the face, and be thrown into the lake of fire. That's the alternative. And so, yeah, it should be easy to say, you know what, I would like to choose heaven over hell. That sounds a whole lot better. But we have to give up our pride in order to do that. But realize, yes, we are sinners. Yes, we need salvation. And no, we cannot do it on our own. And once we realize that, we can easily accept his gifts. I would like to believe that. Yeah. Yes, but the argument I give to that is if it was only a matter of knowledge, I think God would give it to him. But it's a hardness of heart. You know, I mean, Pharaoh saw everything that God did. It was proven to Pharaoh who God was and how powerful he was, and that Pharaoh was powerless to do anything against him. Yet Pharaoh still, he did. Yet Pharaoh still chose death and hell over the living God, you know, because of how hard his heart is. And so if it was just a matter of knowing the truth, God would reveal the truth. But it's a matter of our hearts. And our hearts can be so wicked. And you probably done it. You knew what was right. You knew what was wrong, but you said, I'm going to do the wrong thing anyway because I'm mad at you. Right? And I don't know anyone who hasn't done that in their lives at least once. Some of us like to make a career of it, you know? Yeah, a lot of them jump, you know? And so it's just, it really is a hardness of heart, and you have to have that humility to be able to say, you know what, I'm not good. I'm not even close to good, and I want to be good, and I need his help to do it. But if you don't have that, then what else have you got? Verse 14, when the sin which they have committed becomes known, then the assembly shall offer a young bull for the sin and bring it before the tabernacle of meeting. So it's another bull, it's another expensive one because it's the whole congregation. Verse 15, and the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands on the head. So it can't get everybody in the congregation to do it. That's, 2 million plus people. So just get the elders up there. Lay their hands on the head of the bull before the Lord. That identifies the bull with them, so they're transferring the guilt of their sin upon the bull. Then the bull shall be killed before the Lord. Verses 16 and 17 say, the anointed priest shall bring some of the bull's blood to the tabernacle of meeting. Then the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord in front of the veil, same as if it was their own offering. And he shall put some of the blood in the horns of the altar, which is before the Lord, same thing in the altar of incense, which is in the tabernacle of meeting. And he shall pour the remaining blood at the base of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Same thing, he pours out the rest of the blood on the outside altar. Verse 19 and through 21, he shall take all the fat from it and burn it on the altar. And he shall do with the bull as he did with the bull of the sin offering. Thus he shall do it, so the priest shall make atonement for them, it shall be forgiven them. Then he shall carry the bull outside the camp and burn it as he burned the first bull. Is a sin offering for the whole assembly. So for the entire people is the same as if a priest sins, which kind of shows you how much he cares about how a priest sins, because it's the same offering. The priests don't get to eat this one either because they are part of the congregation of Israel that sinned. Verses 22 and 23, when the ruler has sinned, so this is just a non-priest ruler, a leader of a tribe, maybe an elder, and has done something unintentionally against the commandments of the Lord his God, so he's not trying to do bad, he just missed. And anything which should be done, he is guilty. If a sin which he has committed comes to his knowledge, he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, male without blemish. So he gets to bring a goat instead of a cow. It's a much cheaper offering, but not the cheapest. But still, a kid of the goats, and it has to be a male without blemish. We value female goats more nowadays because they can produce kids and milk. But back in that male-dominated society, the male was always more important. The male was always worth more. Verse 24, and he shall lay his hand on the head of the goat and kill it at the place where they kill the burnt offering before the Lord. It is a sin offering. So this is not the same as killing it right in front of the door of tabernacle. It's where they kill the burnt offering, which is on the other side. But it's a sin offering. But it's not as big of a deal where he has to go into the tabernacle. Verse 25 says, the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering of the finger, put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, that's the outside offering, and pour its blood at the base of the altar of burnt offering. So the blood, if it's a ruler, does not go inside the tabernacle. It does not go before the veil of the Lord. It does not go in the altar of incense. It just goes on the outside. It sticks with the judgment. It does not go into the mercy. Because it's not the priest and it's not the people at large. It's just one individual. Verse 26, and he shall burn all of its fat on the altar like the fat of the sacrifice of the peace offering. The priest shall make atonement for him concerning his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. So he gets forgiven for his sin because he brings the sacrifice. We are forgiven of our sin because Jesus was our sacrifice. Yeah. Well, can you imagine every time you sin, you got to bring a goat to the altar? If you're a ruler? Yeah. Yeah, and how much time you're going to be there, standing there, waiting for your turn?
And how many people,
That's right. It's probably worse than the DMV. 27, 28. If any one of the common people sins, so this is not a priest, this is not a ruler, just an everyday person, sins unintentionally by doing something against any of the commandments and the Lord, and anything which ought not to be done, and is guilty, or if a sin which he has committed comes to his knowledge, and he shall bring as an offering the kid of goats, a female without blemish, for the sin which he has committed. So if it's a commoner, it doesn't even have to be a male goat. It can be a female goat, which was cheaper, but still, expensive. It's not like it's a cheap offering. It's just a cheaper offering. Verse 29, and he shall lay his head on the head of the sin offering and kill the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. He's still identifying with the family, with the goat. It still dies for his sin, not for its sin. Verses 30 and 31, then the priest shall take some of the blood with his finger, put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour all the remaining blood at the base of the altar. He shall remove its fat. The fat is removed from the sacrifice of the peace offering. And the priest shall burn it on the altar for a sweet aroma to the Lord. And the priest shall make atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. So they burn all the fat, they burn all the kidneys and the entrails and all the stuff that they said before. But the rest of the goats, in the ruler's case, and in this case, they do go to the priest. He gets to take it home as wages. And we'll actually get that, I think, closer to chapter 7. Verses 32 and 33, if he brings a lamb as a sin offering, he shall bring a female lamb without blemish. So it doesn't have to be a goat, it could be a lamb. Then he shall lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and kill it as a sin offering at the place where they kill the burnt offerings. The same thing. If it's a lamb as well as a goat, it's done the same way. Verse 34 and 35, then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour all the remaining blood at the base of the altar. He shall remove its fat. All the fat of the lamb is removed from the sacrifice of the peace offering. Then the priest shall burn it on the altar according to the offerings made by fire to the Lord. So the priest shall make atonement for his sin that he has committed, and it shall be forgiven him. So the question I have for you tonight is, you see the hassle they have to go through to bring their animals, the expense and the time and the crowds and the smell and the deeds of killing another animal because you did something wrong. How do we approach our sin today? We know we don't have to kill animals anymore. We know that Jesus died for it on the cross. We are removed from the physical act of having to kill something for our atonement. Does that mean we take our sin less seriously? Can you imagine in that day when they sin, like, oh, And they feel really bad about their sin because they know what it costs. They're going to have to take a whole day off work to take their animal down to Jerusalem. And they're going to kill their animal and lose the animal. It's worth a lot of money. And they lost the time, but they had to do it to make it right with the Lord. Where we can just go, oh, God, I messed up. Please forgive me. And it seems like it's so quick and so easy now. Maybe for us it doesn't mean the same thing. But when we sin, every sin is, no matter how big or small it is, no matter how unintentional it is, it cost Jesus the cross. He went to the cross to die for it all. He went to the cross to die for you because he loves you. And we need to remember that. It's easy for us to go, oh, it's all forgiven. And some people are like, okay, well, it's all forgiven. So they focus on other things about the Lord and all the other stuff. And they get caught up in the nitty-gritty, the mysteries to figure out because they want to look smart and they want to write books and they want other people to think, oh, you know so much. But they lose track of the simple gospel. They leave it behind. It's too simple. They want something more meaty. But it is the simple gospel that saves us. The meaty stuff doesn't save us at all. And we don't want to leave the gospel behind ever. We will always remember who we are, what God did for us, and what we are becoming. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Your conscience starts to sear. Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and pray. My Lord Jesus, you are an amazing God. Thank you so much for this time that we can get together and open your word and study your word. Thank you for the sin offering that you gave them a way to atone for their sins, Lord Jesus. It was temporary and it's been fulfilled, but they had a way, and so I'm thankful that you did that for them. And I'm thankful even so much more that we don't have to go around killing animals and offering the bloody sacrifices ourselves, Lord Jesus. You took that upon yourself, and you did it once and for all. And so we thank you for that. We pray, Lord, that we will remember that as we go about our days, go about our lives. That every sin, no matter how small, it costs you the cross. And that we would want to stop sinning because of that. We would desire to walk a holy and just and upright life. But to do that, Lord Jesus, we need your help. Please help us. Teach us not to stumble. Teach us not to go to the left or to the right, but to walk on and follow you, Lord Jesus, until we are home in your arms. We love you. We pray this in your holy and precious name. Amen. Have a good night, everyone. It's good to see you guys.